beer?
Yeah, I'll take
one. Corona or Ultra?
Ultra's fine. I'll do Corona. Sweet.
Oh.
So you haven't posted the full ones, huh?
No.
On your YouTube. Okay.
No.
Are you gonna like splice them up and do them on different things? Cheers.
Cheers, brother, man. Well, welcome, dog. Welcome to Let's See What Happens.
No, thank you for inviting me. It's cool. I like these kind of things because it's like regular people have things to say.
Exactly.
And sometimes they don't have a platform to do it, and that's why I was thinking about doing one too. I think it's great when people do them because everyone has something to say.
Yeah.
And everyone has different opinions, and then that's why you got to listen to different people's opinions. You're gonna like some of them, you're gonna disagree with some of them, and I think it's good. It's cool.
And that's the reason why I started this. I started this because, you don't have to be a celebrity, dog. You don't have to be famous. You don't have to be, to have something important to say.
Right.
You know what I mean?
Oh, yeah.
And guys like you and me, and guys like the people who I've had on, and who I want to have in the future.
Right.
They all have. I want to know all the lessons that they've learned.
Right.
But I also want to hear the experiences that taught them that lesson.
Right.
And I also want to hear if they learned that lesson from somebody else's experience, and how they're using that lesson in their life, and how they're going to pass that lesson down through their kids.
Right.
Because we all have shit that we've gone through.
Right.
We all have shit that we've learned. We all have scars, whether they be fucking scars you could see, physical scars, emotional scars, psychological scars. We all have that.
Right.
And I want to hear about it.
Yeah.
And then I also think that I got some of the coolest fucking friends, dog.
Yeah.
And I want to showcase them.
Right.
I was thinking to myself, I was telling Caesar last week, because Caesar came down here last week. And when I came up with the idea for this, I was thinking to myself, like, fuck, what do I have that is, what do I have? And I was like, man, I have a bunch of fucking friends. I know a lot of people. Right. And I want to showcase them. I want to showcase them. I want them to come here, and I want them to talk. And I just want to shoot the shit with them, drink some beers, and like I said, learn from what they've learned.
Right.
I've always documented, dog. I've always carried a camera with me and taken pictures, videos. I've always been, what is that? Like a historian type of
influencer?
An influencer?
They're like an old school influencer.
Yeah, maybe.
Historians became influencers.
Yeah, maybe. Yeah. And so then I said, you know what? I'm just going to take it to a different level and start documenting what they have to say.
Right.
Instead of just documenting pictures.
Right.
Documenting videos. Yeah. I want to hear what they got to say, dog.
Right. And that's what's cool about social media now. It's from the old days of listening to the old guy tell stories on the block to actually capturing those life lessons, and for people to see whether they, some point someone's going to look at your videos and they're going to say, identify with something you believe in or saying, or might form a reason why they disagree with you.
Right.
And that's the cool part that I think a lot of people don't get. Social media is cool, it's fun, and there's a lot of little messages, but when you break it up and you say, hey, you know what? Our future, our kids, who are they going to be listening to? No. And who are they going to be exposed to, and where are people getting their information from? I think that's an important reason to do this type of work, because that's a lot of work, setting up everything, recording, editing, doing all that.
Yeah. And I want to hear opposing views.
Yeah.
Because not everybody's going to have the same opinion.
Right.
Not everyone's going to have the same conclusion.
Right.
And that's another reason why I started this, because I want to hear multiple sides to the same story. Everybody has a different perspective, and I want to hear those perspectives, and I want to hopefully, I would have to grow. You grow. Right. You grow from conversation. Right. Yeah. You grow from hearing people's stories. And I want to use this opportunity as a for me to grow, the person sitting here talking, listening to themselves talk, to grow. People listening on the other side, you want to tune in. Hopefully people do. Yeah. Maybe, they can grow as well. I want this to be a destination for growth, dog.
Right.
For growth, moving forward.
Yeah. And that's good. Yeah. Because debate is good. I love to debate. And it seems like everything now has become like you have to you force people to believe what you believe, and just no debate. Think about it like from both sides, and there's no argument. Just talk.
Yeah, how the fuck are you gonna grow from what is it called, the echo chamber? Right, an echo chamber is like when you surround yourself with
people who say the
like-minded
same
people,
things.
dog.
Yeah,
Everybody's saying the same thing over again. You can't fucking grow from that.
Right.
You need to listen. You need to fucking disagree with somebody.
Right.
You know what I mean? There's fucking that's nature, dog. That's fucking natural.
Right.
To disagree and fucking
Right.
Yeah. So that's another thing, bro. I want to hear people. I want to hear what they have to say.
Yeah.
And you taught me a cool little class right now on this, dog. That was really cool, man. I might go that direction with the road mics.
Yeah.
Because I know I'm gonna have to update.
Yeah.
I'm gonna have to update from these.
Yeah.
And I wanted to update to that. Go down there, my condenser mics, but I just can't get that shit to work. If anybody knows how to get condenser mics to work onto an iPhone, hit me up. I got up there. I bought myself a audio interface as well, dog, and I'm just trying to fucking make that happen, bro. Just trying to update, trying to evolve,
right?
You know,
yeah.
Because if I was a millionaire or a billionaire or a trillionaire, and I didn't have to work,
right?
You know, I think that this is what I would do,
right?
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
This is what. Well, I'm fucking doing it for free already. So what the fuck? You know, I'm not getting paid for this shit.
You have sound guys, lighting guys, editing.
I think I would just do it by myself still.
Yeah.
Oh man, dog. Hey, so the last time I spoke to you, no, we're not the last time I spoke to you, but you ran for an office in what city or what county? What did you do, dude?
So I ran for city council in the city of Chino.
The city of Chino. Is the city of Chino LA County?
No, it's San Bernardino County.
San Bernardino County.
Yeah, it's like right next to Montclair, Eastvale, Chino Hills, and Ontario. Okay. Right in the middle of those.
But you're already involved politically, right, in Chino?
Yeah, I'm part of the Community Services Commission, so it's an appointed position. It's not an elected position. And basically, we're not a policy group. We're an advisory group to city council. So when I first moved to Chino, I'll tell you briefly how I got started in that. So when I first moved to Chino, I made an appointment with the mayor at the time. And I said, hey, someday I want to run for city council. You know, what's your advice to get into council? I've always wanted to be in a leadership role, like in city government or even higher. So he said, join a commission. So the commissions, you learn about what's going, who's who in the city, how things are done. You learn the city politics. You get your name out there. So that's what I did. So I applied. I had a couple interviews, and I got appointed on it. I'm on my second term right now. So it helped me to really get involved in the city. It's kind of like a volunteer kind of. You know, it's a volunteer position. You get like a very small stipend, but you go to the meetings. You have parks that you evaluate. You attend city events and give feedback from the community. And then our reports go to the council so that they know, well, you know, what's working good in the city, what are people's concerns or complaints, and kind of just another connector, eyes and ears for council. So just kind of get the pulse of the community. So I've really enjoyed it. It's a good position. I work with a good group of people who care about the city, and that catapulted when the seat opened up. You know, I was confident that I knew enough about the city to take on a leadership role. That's why I ran for city council. I really, when I did my master's program in public administration, you know, I studied public policy. I studied, you know, how government is supposed to work, you know, failures and successes of different levels of government. And that's what kind of inspired me to just take that step. And it's a lot to put yourself out there to run for a political position, and I can see why people don't do it.
It's fucking crazy, dude. You were talking to me. I remember you telling me everything that came along with it, and that was rough, dog.
Oh yeah,
you spend money doing that, dude.
So one of the things that people don't realize is how expensive it is to run a campaign. I spent probably over 17 grand. Some of it was fundraised, and some of it was out of my savings, and you know, working overtime. And then learning how to do stuff on my own really helped out too. Like I learned how to video, learned how to edit, manage my own social media. So I didn't have to hire a company to do it. Saved myself a lot of money. But to me, social media was like the biggest way to get my message out there because people are busy. You know, I went to city events. I was knocking on doors, going to city events, going to all the meetings, trying to get people motivated to get to know me. So they just see your name on a piece of paper. They don't really know you.
Right.
And there's a good, bad, and ugly side to running as a candidate that people don't realize. Not only is it expensive, and I went in there knowing that it was going to be expensive, but I didn't realize how, I guess, everyone says you got to be thick-skinned and go into politics, but they don't know what that means until you're in that position where you're putting yourself out there, knocking on doors. And a lot of people were kind of nasty about it, like the way, like, I would introduce myself and immediately they want to know, are you Democrat or you Republican, instead of like, hey, what are your views on this issue in the city?
Right.
I have no control over national policy, and I get it. They want to know what your feelings are, but do you know what's happening in your city? Do you know who your council person is? Do you know what your council person has voted on? Do you know anything about this? What do you know about the city? So they would quiz me, but in return, I would quiz them back. Like, well, what do you know about what's going on?
Yeah.
And you see what's going on in the media, and you're trying to take out your frustrations on me. I'm a candidate running for office, right? I'm here to serve my community. I have a full-time job. Being a council person isn't a full-time position and doesn't pay full-time.
Does it pay?
You get a stipend, yeah. So you get a stipend, and there's some, I think there's like medical benefits. Like if you do a couple terms, I think you get medical benefits. It's not like I couldn't quit my job to do that. So that's the thing that I think people don't really understand, and they think they could talk to you a certain way, and it's just, I would have to bring people down. Like they would come like, hey, what are your views on this?
What do you mean they feel like they could talk to you a certain way? Like, were they being assholes?
So yeah, so sometimes they were. So like, for example, like I'm Catholic. I was raised Catholic. I went to Catholic schools for 12 years. And people were like, oh, what religion are you? And I said, I'm Catholic. And they're like, oh, okay, well, I'll take a look at the other The conversation would end in there. And it was like, well, what's wrong with being Catholic? Is that like wrong to be Catholic? And for some people, it was an automatic turnoff. But they wanted to know. I'm not going to lie to them. What am I going to say?
Yeah.
So I told them, I was raised Catholic. I believe in the Catholic Church. Answered every question that they had. Some people liked my responses. Some people didn't like my response. Some people are very black and white on certain issues. Some people didn't like my views, and that's fine. But spend some time to ask me these things. Because sometimes people would be on Facebook and be like, oh, what are your views on abortion? Come on, would anyone really pour out their heart on social media about everything they felt about abortion?
You wouldn't be able to.
That's a complicated issue.
There'd be so much lost in that as well.
Right. You know what I'm saying? Yeah. It's a complicated issue, and all the way to the Supreme Court, they still can't figure it out.
Yeah, right. Yeah.
And no one wants to put their name on it, whether it's right or wrong. And I said, you know what? I think there's exceptions, and there has to be policy in place. And I always I listen to Charlie Kirk. I like his exceptions. Rape, incest, save the life of the mother. But statistically, those aren't very big statistics. That's a very small portion of society. But even with just that one topic, let's just say you banned abortions altogether. People are going to find a way to do it.
Right.
So should it be regulated by the government?
Yeah, people are going to find a way to do it. Fine,
yeah. So there has to be some middle ground in that debate. But when you're knocking on doors, you don't have time to go and explain. You'll never win the religious debate. I get that. I believe in the church, and I'm pro-life. My religious beliefs. But does the government have a role in that? I think so. I think there's medical concerns to make sure that if someone does decide to do that, then medically there should be some standards, right? You can't go to someone's garage and get an abortion done. That's just one of the issues. Another issue that people were real nasty about was gay marriage. And see, so that's crazy. Okay. And see, so I have gay friends. I know business owners who are gay. And it's like, I would be doing a disservice if I said straight out, like, hey, I'm against it. I'm not against it. If people are happy with the person that they've decided to start a life with, then that's their decision. As long as people don't break the law, and as long as they don't try to force any beliefs on me, if they're happy, then be happy.
Right.
Why should the government tell you you can't be happy?
Yeah.
And that's the conversation I've had with people. Some people don't like my response. Some people are like, yeah, I kind of agree with you. you know, and some religions have backed off on that issue and been a little more lenient. Some are very strict. No, it's against our religion. And I think from a policy perspective, not a religious perspective, from a policy perspective, there's room for debate in everything. And you have to come somewhere in the middle and not, you know, people always say, oh, you know, my political philosophy is more Jeffersonian. Like I believe that there should be less government, and states should make the decisions for the people living in their state rather than the federal government overall. So with that being said,
too much government is bad, right?
Yeah, but let's say if one particular state bans gay marriage, well, then people have the liberty to move to another state that allows it, and that freedom of movement. And they're like, well, some people are like, no, well, they have to do it. It's like, well, bring your argument and let's debate this, you know. And it comes down to the people who you elect in office. Mm-hmm. So when you look at the whole far right, far left, and, you know, moderates, and what are they saying? What are these people voting on? You know, and those are some of the issues that I've had, you know, talking to voters. And just, it's not so much to try to convince them to think a certain way. It's them to learn about my views on these issues, because they
don't when you ask me the question about abortion, or you ask me a question about gay marriage, just don't stop asking the questions there based on the answer I give you. Let's learn more about me. I'm like an onion. Let's peel back these layers.
Right.
You know what I mean? Let's talk more. Let's talk more. You might like me after we conversate.
Let
me tell you what else I believe in and don't believe in.
Right.
You know what I'm saying?
No, you're right.
And but people don't do that no more, dude.
No. They shut the door, and
you're a Democrat or Republican. Oh, I'm a Republican. Well, fuck you. I'm a Democrat or whatever. You know what I mean? Hey, are you a Trumper? Did you vote for Trump?
People said that.
I know all about you now. Now I know you what you fucking believe in. You fucking racist. What the fuck?
People did that to me. People did that to me. And
that's how motherfuckers are, though, dog.
And even as like a conservative Hispanic, and telling people, you know, I vote a certain way, you know, they still don't believe it. They're like, oh, are you sure? Is this person vetted? Is this, you know, like, wait, what? I'm telling you, this is what I believe. Mm-hmm. And they're still kind of like challenge your beliefs. Like, oh, well, are you sure you're Republican? And, you know, are you sure that you think this way?
If you're thinking this way, then you can't be this. Right? If you're thinking this way, then you're going to be against your people. Your people are supposed to be voting this way. Right. You're voting this way, you fucking whatever. You know what I'm saying?
Right.
Yeah, man. That's crazy, dude. My buddy.
It is crazy. But like I always tell people, it's like, you can't tell me in this day and age how prevalent, you know, how open people are about their sexuality. Like when we were growing up, I never really, you know, knew which one of, you know, people weren't as open about it as they are now. Mm-hmm. But you can't tell me that no one in your family or circle of friends or your community or your church community is gay. There's no way. Mm-hmm. Just by the number of people who are open about it, there's so many people out there. And like, how would I not go to a certain restaurant I like just because the owner's gay? Yeah. Like, it doesn't even make sense. Like, I've been going to a restaurant ever since I moved into Chino, and this man has been nice to me. He's been nice to my family. Great customer service, great food. What do I have against him?
Why are people basing? Hold on. Got a burp, dog. Excuse me. Why do people base whether they like somebody or not on something like that?
Right.
You know what I'm saying? On race.
Right.
Your sexual preference.
Right.
You fucking who you voted for.
Right.
You know, where your political where you stand on the political scale.
Right.
It's crazy how people want to condemn you for those reasons without even knowing you.
Right.
But that's how people are now, dog.
Right.
People don't, like you said, people are going to restaurants because of the owner or whatever. They have a problem with that owner.
Right.
If that owner's never been a fucking asshole to you,
right,
or that he's not doing something that is, you know, like some type of crime against people,
right,
then, you know, right. I don't know, dog. But then everybody, you know, what is the First Amendment?
Right.
You know, freedom of speech. You know, you can do whatever you want.
Mm-hmm.
You can feel however you want. You're free to feel however you want. You're free to
right.
express that.
Right. Talking to people, it was cool. I met a lot of nice people too. There was some bad, you know, experiences where I didn't really want my family or friends to go on these walks with me because sometimes people were real rude. And I'm a police officer. I'm thick-skinned, so it's like, you know, okay, if you don't want to talk to me, I'm gonna leave. I had a buddy walk with me, and he saw what I was talking about. He's like, "Wow, that person was straight out racist to you." I was like, because he's Hispanic, but he looks white. So he goes, the only reason why they talked to you was because I was with you. And I go, yeah, I know. I'm not. I could read.
That's
people.
Why you're here, dog.
I go, yeah, I could read people pretty well, and I got that. And when you look someone in the eyes and they ask you like, or talk to you a certain way, and just like, wow, okay, I know exactly who I'm talking to right now. I know what time it is.
Yeah.
And I got some of that, but then I had nice people that welcomed me in their homes. Hey, sit down. I want to talk to you. I've never had a candidate come to my door before. You want some water? One of them, some of them I would make appointments, and Angie and I would go and talk to these people in their own living rooms, and 2 or 3 people would come together and talk and really get to know me. And some of them were taking notes. And I was like, this is cool. This is like, I want people to get to know who Greg Marquez is, because I want their vote, but I want them to know that they're confident in who they're voting for.
Right.
So I saw met a lot of cool veterans, met a lot of cool business owners, people who said that because the mail-in ballots went in way before election day. Mm-hmm. So some people were like, I already voted for you. And I was like, really? I was like, well, why?
That's pretty cool to hear. How cool was that to hear?
It was cool to hear, because it was like, I was like, what did you like about me from what you saw in the ballots or my social media, my website? What was it? And a lot of them, it was from the candidate forum that the Chamber of Commerce does, a candidate forum. So it's not a debate. They ask questions, and then you have a certain amount of time to answer the questions. And I prepared for that a lot, and people really liked my responses. So a lot of people voted me off that, some off the ballot statement. Some just because I was Hispanic, some just because I was a police officer, and a lot of different ranges of responses. So I got feedback from those people, what they really liked. And when I finished my campaign, I was big on social media, because people don't have time to go to meet and greets. People don't have time to jump on your live sometimes, but they want to get to know you. So at least they could take a little bit of time to see my social media and see, hey, this guy's active in the community. He's out there talking to people. I knocked on, I would say, close to all the houses in my district. And that's thousands of homes.
Wow.
And some of them, they weren't home, or, and it was hit and miss.
You took a very boots on the ground approach. And you said that somebody told you that that's not normal, right? What did he tell you? They said, I'm not used to having a candidate knock on my door.
Right. A lot of people had never had a candidate knock on the door. Some people
so you were the only one that did that?
Yeah.
You're the only one that did that with what you were running for?
Yeah. So in my district, people were saying, because I asked, did the other candidates knock on your door? Have you talked to the other candidates? They're saying, no one's ever knocked on my door. So I know that the 2 people I was running against, they have history, and say they lived there for a long time. Their kids went to school there. But some people didn't even know who they were. Some people didn't even know who the current the council member was filling in for another council member who had passed away. So he's an interim. He was appointed as a council member to fill in until the last election. So people didn't even know who he was. And so I would try to educate people on how the districts works. There's 4 districts in Chino, and they stagger the elections. So in my election cycle, there were three seats up, and then this one, I think there's going to be 2 seats up or something. They're staggered. So people didn't really know the election cycles. People didn't really know who was serving their community. They didn't even know what council does. So I spent a lot of time trying to educate people what city council does.
Right.
And then, what are my views? What do I think the top issues are in the city? And then ask them, well, what are your issues in the city? How can I help resolve those issues?
Okay, so what was the major? Because, like you said, people don't know what city council, who they are. I don't know who my city council is. Mm-hmm. I don't even know what the city council does, dog.
Uh-huh.
I need to be educated on my own city, on my own county. I think because I think we're county. I'm county.
Right.
I know who my board of supervisor is, because my job is handled by the board of supervisors.
Uh-huh.
So I know who they are, and I want to vote them all out. I wish I could, but that's a whole different other story. But that's good that you are taking the approach to educate people on what it is that is going on with their politics.
Right.
with their political leaders, and what the political leaders do, what they should be doing, what they shouldn't be doing, and how we can make that better.
Right.
That's pretty good, man. Did people respond well to that approach?
People really responded well, and like my whole theme for my campaign, because it's a nonpartisan election at city level. So
what does that mean?
You don't state whether you're Democrat or Republican.
Okay. That's pretty good.
You're nonpartisan. People really insisted on knowing, and I would tell them, but my focus was policy over politics. And what I say is you got to take away politics as influence, right? That's what your party aligns to. That's what people are telling you to do. That's the political side of it. Policy is what is the law? What is the standards? What is our ordinances? How are public funds being spent? That's what city council sets policy for the city. Mm-hmm. That's your they don't come up with laws, but like your city ordinances, if they get grants or if they need infrastructure improvements, how that money is spent, that the city generates. And there's a lot of issues when you sit down and learn about what's going on in your city, in any city. You learn about issues, traffic issues, certain intersections are dangerous where people are crashing. Is it crime related? Is it we need more parks? We need more schools? What is it that we need, and how are we going to make this community better moving forward? And then how are we going to pay for this? Mm-hmm. So, and Chino's and specifically is very old school mentality, and that's what I learned about the city. So it's mainly started because of the dairy lands and cattle ranchers, and it was farm based.
I remember Chino, man. Back in the day, it smelled like farms.
Yeah,
there was really nothing in Chino, like Chino Hills. I remember that, man. It's a city that it seems like it's a new city. Or was I just
it's a relatively new city because it's growing, and the media just did a whole story about Chino being a boom town, and people are learning about Chino because it's a little closer. It's like in a hub. You're right near 4 different freeways. You're right near the 91, the 71, the 60, the 15 is right down the freeway, and you're an hour away from everything. You're an hour from the beach, hour from Dodger Stadium, hour from downtown LA, hour from Big Bear, hour from Palm Springs. It's an hour drive. So wow. It's actually a good location. Mm. The city has a lot of growth still, mostly in the south end of the city. But there's a lot of issues that are happening. And when you actually knock on people's doors and find out what's going on in their neighborhood, what's frustrating them, and they really appreciate that outreach. That's why I kept my social media going, because I spent a lot of time meeting these people. I want to maintain those relationships with these people, and that way they get to know me. My social media has turned more about, what am I doing in the community and in my family. But now our next cycle of elections are coming, and I want people to start paying attention, because they were very critical to the candidates. But let's talk about.
I'm gonna promote your social media. I'm gonna put it right here.
Yeah.
Right there, dog.
Yeah, and people need to hold the people they're electing accountable.
Absolutely.
Are we just rubber stamping policy, or are we working for our community and trying to resolve some of the issues that are happening?
Right.
And that doesn't always happen. So just because they're an incumbent doesn't mean they did a good job. Mm-hmm. And another secret that people don't realize from the candidate's perspective is that endorsements, when people say, oh, endorsed by so-and-so, oh, this organization, this department, a lot of those don't talk to all the candidates. They go by who they know, the politics part of a campaign. It's who they know. We want this person in. And I get it. Politics is dirty, and they're not always going to promote the best candidate or endorse the best candidate. But at least talk to the candidates. Mm-hmm. At least reach out to them and kind of see what their beliefs are, what they can do for the city. And without naming names, I had that experience where different organizations, their procedure was to talk to all the candidates, but they went with who they know.
They already had it in
their hearts and minds that who they were going to endorse.
They just went through the process.
And no, they didn't do their process.
Oh, they didn't.
No, they never talked to me.
Oh, wow.
So when you see that candidate's name with those endorsements, and you say, okay, oh, this must be the guy that they believe in. Okay, did you ever talk to that? No one knows that. And a lot of these voter guides that go out there, people don't know. All the candidate does is pay to get their name put on them. Mm-hmm. It's a whole business in itself. So people don't realize that.
What is it? 2Gs, right? Like 2Gs.
Yeah, so it's probably about. I paid. Some of them were in the hundreds because they were very small groups. But if to like send a mailer out to my whole district, it was probably like I want to say it was 2,500 to just send a mailer out. That was my mailer. But these like if
and that mailer you sent out, it informed people who you were.
Yeah, just a real brief who I am, what I look like, where to go. And I directed everyone to my website. I built a really good website, but I'm going to revamp it all because now I'm going to take a more aggressive approach. Like, these are the issues. You guys need to listen to this.
This is what I learned the first time around.
This is what I learned the first time around. Yeah.
That's fucking dope, dude. Your whole first campaign was fucking research, dog.
Right.
And now you're gonna and now you're gonna apply what you learned.
Right.
Oh, good luck, dude. Good luck. I feel like you're on a mission, dog.
I am on a mission because it's something that I've been, invested a lot of time, a lot of money, my family, my friends, and I'm passionate about policy. And that's the thing that people are missing, and everything that's going on in society is policy sets how you behave in our society, if that makes any sense. So like laws and policy, the politics is totally separate. It's two separate entities. So that's why I tell people, policy over politics, because focus on the policy. Do you really think it's okay? When you're looking at any decision, is it okay that this is happening in my community?
Give me an example. How about with money? Like, do people want to know where their money is going? So Chino has taxes, right?
Yeah.
Taxes, right? So do people want to know where their taxes are going to, if they're going to where they're supposed to be going to fix whatever problem they say they are? Because you get these, like when you vote, right? Or like when we vote here, they're saying, hey, well, we're gonna implement this tax. Vote for this tax, yes or no, so that we can fix the schools. So much money, whatever. You know what I'm saying? I always say no, because I don't know where that fucking money's going, dog. Whenever I see something like that, I feel as if it's going into somebody's pockets.
Okay.
Like this whole gas tax that was implemented a couple of years back, saying that they were going to be fixing the roads here in California, right?
Right.
Well, wasn't there a similar tax a couple of years before, and the roads are still fucked up?
Right. Okay, so thanks for doing that, because you kind of prompted me into something. So you asked on a local issue. So we have what's called a civic center, right? Every city has a civic center. We have a civic center master plan, which is basically our current councils decided that they wanted to formulate this plan to tear down the existing buildings in the civic center plaza. Okay. So there's an old courthouse, our civic center, and some other buildings. They want to tear them all down, right? It's proposed to be a $450 million project. You and I know that's not going to come out to $450 million. Okay. And just the reason why I say that is because one of our high schools was torn down, rebuilt, and they were like $150 million over budget. So imagine tearing down these buildings. So my view is different than the current council's decision. So they want to do that. And my thing is, are you okay with spending this amount of money on a building that doesn't need to be torn down? So I did my own research because I didn't want to go off based on my own feelings. But these buildings were built in the mid-70s. Okay. Steel and concrete. Nothing's gonna take down those buildings.
Right. Those buildings have existed through a couple of earthquakes, dog.
Right. They're not. There's nothing wrong with the buildings. So what I've been told is, that the plumbing's bad. Spend $4 or $5 million to redo the plumbing. Yeah. Are you okay with this? Are you as a city? And I'm bringing this up more because I'm saying, are you as a city okay with tearing down all these buildings? You got labor shortages. You got supply chain issues with building supplies being brought in. This is going to be knocked down, and it's going to take decades to rebuild. There's no funding for it. So most cities, if they want a new city hall, they start a building fund and they generate revenue, and they have a plan so that when this building is dilapidated, that they can have money to pool. So they want to raise a sales tax to help pay. They're going to take out bonds and then pay for these bonds with the upgraded sales tax, and other revenues of cash coming into the city, mainly from property taxes and sales taxes. That's how cities fund a lot of their infrastructure projects. But what I brought up is, why are we doing this? And a lot of people agree with me, and some people say, oh, our buildings are ugly. That's fine. But as a city, we don't have any debt right now. Why are we we made it through COVID. Why are we going to incur a $550 million project for what? Tell me why. Because I'm a voter too. And I want to know why we're spending this money on this new civic center. Is it room? Do we need more room? We have an empty courthouse that's been vacant for decades. Well, not decades, but over a decade. It's been vacant. Huge courthouse. And they closed the Chino courthouse. The city bought that property and it's empty. So you're telling me there's the reason why we're tearing this down is because of the plumbing. Are you? And that's what I tell you. Are you okay with this?
It sounds like a reason. It sounds like a money maker for somebody, because they're using the demolition of these buildings as a reason to throw money at it.
Right.
But all that money is not going to go to those buildings. It's going to somebody's fucking pocket.
Oh yeah.
And that's fucking grimy.
And that's what I want to get down to.
But that's the atmosphere of politics, right?
Yeah, but it's funny because like when you say these things as a person who lost a campaign, people look at it, oh, this guy's being a big baby, he's trying to, and I'm saying, no, I found this issue. Yeah. I found this issue. You guys got to listen to me, because this is not good for our city.
Yeah. Right. And yeah,
this is not good.
You're telling the truth.
If we need to do something to make these buildings look nicer, let's remodel them. But to tear them down and rebuild them, and they're buying other properties to relocate people, and it's just like to relocate for this when this plan goes into in effect to house like their offices where they are, and it's just like this doesn't make any sense to me. And right now, no one can convince me that this is a good idea for the city. So some people are like, hey, you know what? Greg's got a point. Why are we doing this? And it's funny because the company that did the analysis for city council, they're a demolition company.
Wait, say that again?
So the company that they hired to do the whole evaluation they focus on teardowns, on building teardowns. So of course, there's no plan B. There's no like, hey, this is one option, we tear them down, or this is the other option, we renovate. So there's no option on the table.
So the company that came in and did the assessment is a demolition company.
Yeah.
So why wouldn't they say, yes, this whole building, this whole property needs to be demolished?
Right.
Money talks.
That's what I'm saying. I want to get down to it. And
so you're saying this, right? You're saying all of this. Hey, well, check this out. How about you look at it through my perspective?
Right.
Look at it the way that I'm looking at it. How many people agree with you? How many people don't agree with you? And how many people are mad at you for bringing this up?
Right. Exactly. Because there are people
making enemies.
I'm sure people are kind of like he's in the way. His voice is in the way of saying, because I brought this up in one of the council meetings and the public comments. I brought it up. I was like, why are we doing this? Why? Is it space? Is it safety? You guys got to tell me something, not just, hey, this is the plan, we're going to tear it down. No. I want to know, why is generations going to be paying for this when it doesn't need to be done? You got kids dying of fentanyl in your schools. You got a homeless issue. There's things that I would rather see go towards paying benefits for the city employees. You got a lot of city employees that have been there for years, but they're not getting adequate pay and benefits. They're leaving to other cities.
That's crazy,
those are bad words, but those are bad words to people in power. Those are bad words. You can't talk about term limits. You can't talk about pay and benefits. You can't talk about, like, I advocate for 2-man police cars. It's too expensive.
What about fucking safety?
Okay, what about safety? Yeah. What about supporting law enforcement?
Because
I thought you said you support law enforcement.
Hey, you know what? I'd rather have 2 cops show up than 1.
Right.
You know what I mean? And then also for that one car guy, that guy who's on the one car, he fucking put somebody who's gonna watch his back.
Right.
But that's just our perspective, though. With that,
Nobody look at the data too. The data backs it up too. Look at the Lswhp data, the law enforcement officers killed in action. The data backs it up too, that a lot of these guys and girls that got killed in the line of duty were by them. There are times when they were by themselves.
Wow, that's
and you look at that stat, and you say, okay, as someone who's going to go into political office, or someone who I have expectations of in political office, why aren't you doing this? Why are you trying to go out and buy a helicopter? Why are you trying to buy this? Let's put our money. We see the data, we see the need for it. Let's start putting 2-man officer cars out there so that we don't have another officer killed in the line of duty. Let's do that. Let's not spend our money on a city hall, civic center, so it looks really nice and beautiful, but business owners are frustrated. Your residents are frustrated. Let's deal with those problems first. Let's deal with those first. Let's prioritize it different, not what you want.
Yeah. Somebody's priorities are all fucked up.
But you know how politicians sneak things in is under the guise of safety.
Exactly.
So if they want to do the sales tax, my prediction is that they'll call it just like they did with like Prop 47, the Safe Schools Act, like, oh, we're going to help people. And then it'll also be like, oh, the law enforcement, protection taxes or something. It's something weird where they incorporate it with safety. So people say, oh, for safety.
What? Yeah.
Yeah, for
sounds
sure.
Good to me.
But all that money is going to go for, we don't know that, right?
Didn't they pass some law, or they're trying to pass a law that will stop that what you just gave an example of, when a bill is proposed or policy is proposed, to actually write out what the meat and potatoes are, not all this other verbiage that is going to fucking persuade somebody to vote in this direction. You know what I'm saying?
Right.
Like, give the meat and potatoes of it.
Right.
Where's the money coming from? Oh, it's going to come from me? It's coming from my pocket?
Right.
Oh, well, maybe I'm going to think differently about it now.
Right.
Maybe that doesn't sound like a good idea.
Right.
Maybe we could put this money somewhere else. Like you said, dog, you got people down in fentanyl. You said something about the schools. You said AB. You listed a couple of things that can come before the demolition of the civic center.
Right.
Somewhere where the money can be spent and actually do some good.
Right.
What the fuck are you gonna? Why do they want to take this big project on that's gonna take fucking years, dog? When you could be doing something else. Hey man, it fucking smells. Hey, if it walks like a duck, it talks like a duck, it must be a duck. And these motherfuckers are trying to pull off a heist.
That's what it looks like. I'm telling you. And like, I wish I could go in a council chamber, like in a city council meeting, and say it like
you
that.
You should. Hey, what would happen if you did? Imagine if you walk in, hey, what the fuck? This is the situation that's happening.
People be like, oh, he cursed. And I was like, we wouldn't listen to anything else. Like, oh, he cursed. He cursed in this council meeting. And that's what people would think. It's like, wait, did you hear everything that we're talking about? I'm telling you, dude. And
oh my god.
And it seems like it just doesn't sound right. It doesn't sound right. So and that's the way I tell people,
it's fishy,
to look at policy and be like, are you okay with it at the end of the day? If you're okay with it, that's fine. You vote for it. I won't vote for it. But that's the way I try to teach people to focus on policy. Are you okay with it? Are you okay putting your name on that? Are you okay voting for that? And when the people you voted into office, are you okay with the way they voted? And you could look, if you look on the website on your city council, on any city, they show exactly what they voted on. So every mistake that's happened in your community.
What do you mean they show exactly what they voted on?
So like, let's say there was a ordinance that was passed, they had to vote for that ordinance, right? So
and it shows who voted for that ordinance.
Yeah, who showed it. It's like, for example, they did one a few months ago where it was talking about this one little community, and they wanted parking permits in the community, right? So the people came to the council meeting. They're saying, hey, we want parking permits because we got people in another neighborhood parking in our neighborhood. And, we kind of want to alleviate some of the parking issues. So council said, yes, we'll permit, we'll allow you to do permits in this neighborhood. So I've particularly don't like that policy, because then it opens up to every other community saying parking issues are issues everywhere. So then you'll have the next door neighborhood. All those people parking there are going to park in the neighborhood. You're just moving problems. You move crime, you move problems. And it sets a standard. So let's just say that policy fails. Who voted on that? Okay. And it's okay if it fails and they learn and they could change it. But people don't look at when policy fails. Who voted on that? Is it the incumbent that going up for election again, who will say all the good things he or she has done? But what did they learn from their failures, and how are they getting better? So when people win an office, they're just focused on winning and then getting reelected. They're not focused on solving problems, because there's a lot of problems that continue to exist in communities that aren't resolved.
Right.
You could manage problems in Whittier. You could manage problems in Chino. You could manage your homeless issue, your gang issue in smaller cities. When you look at bigger cities like LA County and LA City, that's a whole different beast.
Mm-hmm.
Because then that accountability will come through each jurisdiction covering, what station covers that particular area, from a law enforcement perspective. But what are the leaders, the civic leaders, doing to solve these problems? Are they boots on the ground, or are they just rubber stamping policy?
Do they are they rubber stamping policy? Are they stamping policy for people that they know?
Right.
Do they actually know what the fuck is going on,
mm-hmm.
or are they just saying yes, no? Are they educated and informed on what it is that they're voting on?
Right.
And I like that they're being held accountable by having that, by showing what it is that they are voting for. Because you want to know, don't do shit, don't hide.
Right.
If you're doing something, you fucking do it.
Right.
You know what I mean? And don't hide about it.
So
now you know.
You know what I would do, and I told people, if I got elected to office, I want them to know what I voted on.
Mm-hmm.
I would put that out. I don't know why more politicians aren't on social media saying, there's this guy I follow on TikTok who does that.
Mm-hmm.
And I forget his name off the top of my head, but he says, I voted on this because of A, B, C, and D.
And that's what we need.
That's what we need, because people don't know, and they're too busy. Everyone's busy, and it's fine. Everyone doesn't have to be, an A student in local politics, but it would be nice to have the person representing you in your city to let you know what's going on in your city.
Absolutely.
Hey, we just voted on this. It was, to this new road. We listened to your complaints. We prioritized it on a lot of projects. We apologize it took so long, but we got it done. Hope you enjoy the road. Something like that.
Absolutely.
You could put out content like that easy, just as quickly as we set up this little scene. Someone could say, hey, you know what? You voted for me to take care of this issue. I said it during my campaign I was going to take care of this issue. I took care of it.
Mm-hmm.
That's what I want to see.
Mm-hmm.
And that's what I wanted to give to the community is, hey, social media isn't bad. People are always going to hate on everything you do.
Mm-hmm.
But educate the people who care enough to listen. Let them know what's going on.
What you just described right now, when you said that, hey, that somebody should come on and make a video and be like, hey, you voted for me to do A, B, C, and D. I did A, B, C, and D. My bad, it took a little bit longer than what I thought it was going to take, but I fucking did it.
Right.
You know what I'm saying?
Right.
That's what we need.
That's what we need.
Because a lot of politicians, they say A, B, C, and D, but they never fucking do it. They say what needs to be said in order to get voted. Right. That's fucking bullshit. Yeah. Because then you get this motherfucker who's out there doing whatever he wants and not being held accountable for what he fucking said.
Right. Exactly.
You know what I'm saying?
Right.
And
their social media stops.
Bananas, dude.
The day after they get elected, their social media stops.
Yeah.
And they stopped. Oh, I'm this great person. I'm running for office. I'm so involved. And then after they get elected, their social media stops.
And where are you at?
They're taking selfies with business owners.
Yeah. What happened? Where are you at?
Oh, I support local business. Where are you at?
And why would people not want to vote? Why would people not want that?
Right.
Guys like me,
right.
I'm a regular dude. I want that.
Right. Yeah.
I think everybody wants that.
Oh yeah.
And I think that would be something that would when you vote, dog.
There's no Brown Act violations in talking to people in your community.
There's no what?
Brown Act.
What's
Brown
that?
Act is like what dictates like the conduct of politicians. Like you can't talk about like city business before it's been like voted on, or how many people can meet and talk about city business. Like you can't meet outside of a public forum to talk about policy.
Dude, so I just got a crazy vision in my head. Okay, so you see the civic center, right?
Uh-huh.
What if you went around? What if you had a description of the, you have the pros and cons.
Yeah.
Of this demolition, right? Of this project, right? Pros and cons, and you sent it out to everybody that lives in Chino, right?
Uh-huh.
And then you were able to have them vote yes or no.
Mm-hmm.
And then based on their answer, you go through with it.
Okay, so the process for that, you would have to form it's called a political action committee. So once the sales tax is presented to the voters, it has to come during a general election. So next year we'll have a general election. Sometime before that, they'll need to propose a sales tax increase. That has to be voted on by the people.
Mm-hmm.
So during that period of time, once they propose it, it becomes a formal, like, hey, they have to file a campaign for the sales tax. So people opposing it can form a political action, and this is for any political thing. You form a political action committee, you register with the state, and then you form like your own little organization to talk about the pros and cons of that. Mm-hmm. Because of course, when they're trying to push it out, they're not going to focus on the cons. And you want to bring awareness to a certain issue. That's what I've learned you have to do. Mm-hmm. So, and you also have to be careful too, because I don't know what kind of legal, you're messing with the city, so you don't know what, there's a lot of, that saying you can't beat City Hall. You don't know what legal ramifications there could be. Mm-hmm. So I know you have to form a political action committee. I don't know if the city can sue you or if they would even go through that process. I don't know that yet. Guess I'll find out. So, but that's the way to get your message out, like the proper way.
And so another thing that you said that I've always thought, once the candidate gets voted in, then their social media gets turned off or whatever, or they stop that connection with the people.
Yeah.
And that is something that I feel is a big problem, because there's such a gap. There's such a gap between us and the people that we vote, our politicians.
Right.
There's such a gap between us and them. And in that gap right there, there's so much that's lost, especially money. Mm-hmm. You know what I mean?
Yeah. No, I agree. And the candidate is different than the person in office.
The candidate is different. Oh, big time.
And it's two different processes. Mm-hmm. And it's tiring being candidate. It's a lot of work. But that going into the position that you have to do this. And then once you get into office, to me, and this is just my personal opinion, is that a lot of them are just focused on the next election. I need work done.
So so the people that get voted in, right? And they're not out there helping the community, and they're not doing what's best for the community. What are they doing?
Just showing up to meetings.
But what do they get from that?
So they get stipends. So you get a stipend every month. And then when you're part of these different commissions and boards, you get a stipend from each of those. Mm-hmm. So there's money involved.
So how like in our government, right? I'm talking about the United States government, right? Uh-huh. Quid pro quo is a big thing, right? Is that going on at your level?
No.
You know what I'm saying? Can somebody get money for voting a certain way? Are there bribes? Is there extortion going on?
There
has to be. Dog.
I don't see it, and I wouldn't accuse anyone with it without having like any facts. But that's politics.
Hell yeah, dog.
So for me, I think the solution to that is term limits, and that's another bad word for politicians, because once they want to continue those things, but 2 4-year terms, why not? The president has 2 4-year terms. Yeah. Why not? Why don't council members? Why don't mayors? Why don't county supervisors? Why don't all of them have this standard of 2 4-year terms?
Or based on your success. Yeah. If you're in there and you're doing good for the community, hey, you just earned yourself another year,
right?
Or you just earned yourself another 2 years,
right?
But if you're not doing shit, then get the fuck out of here, because all you're doing is wasting time.
But a lot of people just look, who's the incumbent? Oh, the incumbent. Oh, he must have done a good job. I'm going to vote for him.
But there should be like stats, like baseball players,
right?
They have stats like, hey, well, this year, homeboy, he's pitching whatever, or homeboy had so many home runs, so many base hits, so many stolen bases. Politicians should have stats. They should have a baseball card that shows you their stats for this year. This is what he did. These were his accomplishments. Boom, 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 and his accomplishments. This is what his accomplishments did for the community.
Right.
Oh, these are his failures.
But you don't see that until election time. But I agree. People should be.
That should be out there.
That should be out there.
Your wins and losses.
So. Your wins and losses.
Yeah. Your wins and losses are big, and not just your wins and losses, but the motivation behind those wins and losses. Right. And who, it's big, bro. Because
I completely agree.
Then you get to know the person you're voting for, dog.
Right.
Why is it such a fucking secret?
Right.
Why are there so many secrets? There shouldn't be no secrets. If you're gonna be out here and you're supposed to be helping out the community, then you fucking need to put it out there.
Right.
Put it all out there. If you're really about what it is that you're talking about, put that motherfucker out there.
I agree.
Go for it.
You don't hear anything from some of them.
Nobody. You don't hear nobody. You don't hear shit from anybody. Nobody ever just like go out there and they talk about generic bullshit.
Right.
Oh, I'm gonna do this. I'm gonna do that. Oh, he's this. He's that. You know what I'm saying? Right? You don't get the real person.
And the thing is that not one person can change policy for a city, but you're gonna say, I'm gonna advocate. I'm gonna put this on the agenda. I'm gonna hold other council members accountable for pushing this good policy idea through. And like, for example, like putting 2 cops in a car. If we all say, we as on your campaign statement, you all said you support police, right?
Mm-hmm.
You guys all said that. I'm going to propose we put 2 police officers in a car.
Sure.
Oh, but it costs money. Oh, our budget. Oh, this. Oh, I don't know. That's not a good idea. Okay, you said that in your campaign. So when the next campaign comes out, don't say you're going to support law enforcement if you're not going to vote for something else, because statistically, it's safer to have 2 police officers in a car.
Yeah, they need to be held accountable.
So don't say that in your next campaign if you're not willing to vote for that. Now, I would call people out on that.
You have to.
Because you said that in your statement.
Have you done that?
No, but I would if I'm in office, you know.
Can you do that? Can you do that?
You can
while you're campaigning.
You can, yeah. So you could say whatever you want. But you have to be very tactful about it, because I got to think my full-time job is watching my social media. The community's watching my social media. Council's watching my social media. So I can't be on a full-on attack against a specific council member or, someone in power. You can't just be like talking bad about them. But it's kind of like you got to kind of frame your responses to like, why are we doing this? What's going on? And why are these decisions being made? So I try to frame it as, you guys need to start listening and paying attention, because this is going to happen, and you're not going to know when it's going to happen until after it happens. And you look at even some of the infrastructure in the newer parts of our city. This is supposed to be a master planned community, right? But the roads are horrible. People are complaining because when they flood, they're too small for the amount of traffic going through. There's constant construction because they don't do their projects right. Because there's ADA issues, there's traffic flow issues. You guys voted on this community to build this community. We've poured all kinds of money, made all these agreements with the developers, and we're doing construction on them every 5 years. You guys paying attention to what's going on? Are you guys really seeing what's going on? And who was on that council at that time? So that's how you got to frame it. Like, who was on the council at that time that voted yes on this? They should be held accountable for those decisions. Why weren't they thinking about this? And why aren't the councils now looking at issues like this and saying, we made that mistake in the past. Let's start changing the language of this policy that we're signing off, that we're voting on. The developers, hey, we learned through this mistake. You changed this wording. Do this street like this. Do the ADA upgrades like this. We need consultants. Do we need lawyers? Who do we need to get involved? Who's specialized in this particular topic? Let's get them on our team.
Right. So
we don't get sued.
Exactly. You get the professionals on.
Mm-hmm.
You get people who have done it before. Get the job done right.
Right.
You don't hire your friends.
But then egos get involved, and it's like, I don't care about egos. If someone is upset at me because I'm bringing up something that I believe in, or something that contradicts what they're trying to do, you put yourself out there.
There's a quote, dude. There's a quote that says, if you have enemies, that means you must be doing something right. Because if you don't have enemies, dog, then you're doing something wrong. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
That's just how I look at it.
It's very interesting, though. I'm telling you, it's very interesting when you look at problems and how they're being resolved and prioritized, and just sit back and just say, like, okay, what's really going on? And it's almost like you're a journalist, like researching.
You have to be. If you're going to do your job correctly, then you need to be informed about what it is that's going on. Like you said, like when you went around and you knocked on doors and you spoke to residents and you asked, and the people that did talk to you, you asked them what their main issues were and where they felt things need. Oh man, and you felt where they felt the focus needed to be, what the issues that needed to be focused on.
Right.
Because that's where you're gonna get it from. You're gonna get it from the people. Right. And then just based on all those, it's like doing an experiment. Based on all those answers, you could campaign all those answers.
Right. And then there's issues too that, like in the candidate forum, the same questions are asked every year. So it's like, why are we still talking about this? Why haven't all the councils in the past taken care of this, like Wi-Fi and our public parks and our public buildings? Why is that still a question on this candidate forum?
Mm-hmm.
So none of these other council people, the people who are getting reelected, what did they do about this issue in the last 4 years? You had 4 years to figure this out.
Yeah, if you haven't figured it out yet, like I said, get the fuck out of here. Yeah. Hey, so the way you're approached, is it like it's not a traditional approach, right? With what you're doing and with the way that you are,
because there's a status quo of like, oh, hey, everything's going good, so no one talks about what's going bad. And we have a good city. There's a lot of good things happening in the city. But my approach is educating people to get involved and educating them why their votes are important, getting to know their candidates are very important, and then learning that they are part of the problem-solving process is important. Mm-hmm. And that's not something that happens that I've seen in my city in a very long time. Ever, actually. Because once they get elected, you don't hear from them. The only time you hear from, and this might be across all cities, but when I first got on the commission is when I started paying attention more of what's going on and how our political leaders are behaving. And it's just during campaign season, they're taking pictures of business owners, shaking hands, kissing babies,
doing dogs.
All this, but then it stops. And a lot of people don't believe in government at that point. Mm-hmm. So, and I talked to a lot of people who were frustrated. And I put that in my campaign statement. I said, a lot of people are either frustrated or have given up on being part of that problem-solving process because they don't believe in the people they're electing. Mm-hmm. And they're learning the hard way that, hey, this guy said he was going to help my business. He took a picture with me, posted it on his thing, and then now I haven't heard from him again. I thought you supported local businesses.
And fuck, those type of politicians are the ones who fuck it up for everybody because, like you said, people lose faith in government. People lose faith in politics. Mm-hmm. Like, people think their vote don't count because they already feel the results are fixed.
Right.
They already have, like you talked about. What did you say? You talked about how a certain business is supposed to interview all candidates and then decide who it is that they're going to support.
Yeah.
But they already have that one person in mind.
Right.
And therefore they just support. They already know what they're going to do.
Right.
And that's like me. I really feel as if they're when it comes to voting, I don't trust, dog. I don't trust the way that these our votes are counted. I don't trust the outcome, bro, because I feel as if the outcome has already been fucking decided, Holmes.
Right.
Because they already know who they're gonna fucking put there.
Right.
And that's just how I feel.
Yeah. And that
I don't trust fucking politics, dog. I don't trust politicians because of because of the bad politicians who have done all the wrong shit. Motherfuckers have been like you talk about term limits, right?
Right.
So you've been holding this seat for how many years?
Right.
And you haven't done shit, and you're still talking about fixing the same shit you talked about when you first started fucking campaigning?
Exactly.
How come you never did anything about it?
Right.
You know what? You get the fuck out of here. Let's get somebody in here who's going to take care of it.
And that's why I wish people would look at it that way.
There needs to be some type of somebody who holds politicians accountable.
The voters are supposed to hold them accountable by not voting for that person.
Fuck, dog.
But I could see why people don't want to run for office because it's a messy, nasty world. It is.
And then if you're going,
so you get smart people in your community. There's business owners. There's nonprofit leaders. There's religious leaders. There's all these people in your city who are brilliant, who would do a great job. Look at like Ben Shapiro. Look at Charlie Kirk. Wouldn't you want these people in politics? They don't even go for political office.
Yeah.
Because they're making money selling their ideas. But why don't they run for office?
I've always thought that.
Because they don't want to join that. They don't want to lose because there's a chance you may lose. No one wants to lose. And you're putting yourself out there to people who don't know you. But why isn't Candace Owens? Why isn't Ben Shapiro? Why isn't Charlie Kirk? Why aren't all these people forming their own? If they don't like the Republican Party or everything 100%, why don't they form their own political party?
Because politics
is nasty. Because politics are nasty.
Cutthroat. And it's like a club. It's a club that will not allow you entry if you are thinking not the way they're thinking.
Right. But it's nasty. But wouldn't those people, just naming, that would be people I would believe in and vote for And without, if they form their own political party, I would vote for them.
Right, me too.
Because I believe in what they say. It doesn't have to have the name of, oh, Republican or Democrat. But that's become the two power parties. But
that's fucking crazy, dog. It doesn't matter, you know. For me, man, Republican, Democrat, it makes no fucking difference. You know, I'm on the side of the fucking world, dog.
Right.
Like, we need to vote for people who are going to make the world better, not who are going to make some political party better.
Right.
You know, you have to work towards the greater good, of the community, the greater good of the world, the greater good of your fucking nation, the greater good.
Right.
And there's a right way to do it.
Mm-hmm. And just like you said in the very beginning, you know, your friends, your people that you know, and the people that you meet, they have ideas. You don't have to have Charlie Kirk here in your garage being interviewed. You don't have to have Candace Owens here. There's people in your community who are just as brilliant.
Hell yeah.
That can do just as good of a job leading a community, but they just won't do it. It's too much work, too much time, not enough compensation to leave whatever they have. If you're a business owner making millions of dollars, you're busy making millions of dollars. So to be to promote civic engagement to those people, it doesn't make sense to them, because it's time equals money. And I get it. But those are the people I want to know, that if I get elected to office, they can contact me. And
shit, excuse me.
But that's the good part about a local local politics, is that you know who they are. They know I put my personal phone number on all my social media and my website. Mm-hmm. I said, hey, call me. You want to talk? Text me. You don't have time? Let's Zoom. Mm-hmm. You want to make an appointment? I'll go to your house. You could come to my house. We could meet at this event.
You're making yourself accessible and letting people know that
I did a whole communication plan. I did a whole communication plan. And I said, these are the 10 different ways you can get in touch with me.
Did anybody contact you?
A few people did, here and there. Like,
how many? How many do you think?
In the whole campaign?
Over 50? Under 50?
I would say over 50.
All right.
I would say over 50. And the thing is that you look at the way they voted. So there was a candidate that came in the last minute, split my Hispanic vote. And you look at, that person didn't even run a campaign. So what was that about? Mm-hmm. You know, and you look at the way the politics are in the city. And so I have a whole different approach the next time.
All right.
And I'm going to let people know what the issues are and how they can make them better. Let's fix these. Yeah. If you think I could fix them, vote for me. Mm-hmm. If you don't think I could fix them, don't vote for me.
Then vote for somebody who
you think will. Yeah.
And if you think he'll do a better job than me,
right?
Fuck, maybe I'll vote for that motherfucker too. Yeah. You know what I'm saying? If he has a better, you know what I'm saying?
Right, you might have better ideas.
It's got to be for the greater good. Everything has got to be for the greater good, dog.
I agree. Yeah.
Like, I might not be the best man for the job, but if you could find somebody better than me,
right,
I'll vote for that motherfucker. You know what I'm saying?
Hey, it's true though. It's true. It's just like you see some of these guys and men and women out there who are in these positions, just like, really? This is who everyone voted for.
Yeah, this is the best you could do.
This is the best you can do.
This is the best person that we. So, yeah, I trip out. That's why I'm saying it. That's why I don't trust fucking politics, bro. Especially at the higher level you get. I don't trust that fucking Washington, bro. I don't trust fucking Washington, man. Those motherfuckers over there. You want to talk about term limits, dog? You have people. Our current president has been in politics for how many years? 46 years.
Decades.
Yeah, decades, yeah. Right? And he's if he has not been able to fix the problem yet, right. Why the fuck did how did he end up as our president?
That's why I ask people, are you okay with this?
And then I always trip out on how Biden won the presidency. Right? And then who else I trip out? I trip on how Trump won the presidency. How was he allowed to be president, bro? Right?
Because he lost the popular vote.
Or just because because he's an outsider, he's not in that club.
Oh, right.
Hillary was supposed to be the next president.
Right.
She was going to be our next president. Then who allowed Trump to win?
Right.
Who fixed it so that Trump won?
Right.
You know what I'm saying? And then
we will never know.
We're never gonna fucking know. And so
we'll learn about aliens before we learn about the truth.
We're never gonna know, doc. And that's something that I've always talked about. Like, there's levels. There's level to this as to what we're allowed to know and what other people are allowed to know.
Right.
Because there is a truth, bro.
Right.
There is a truth out there, dog. But our level, we're not allowed to know that truth.
No, you're right.
There's gatekeepers to the truth.
Oh yeah, you're right. And that's why I think like people are trying to kind of monitor what's going on, because people are getting like, hey, they're questioning government, right?
You have to.
And when you question government, doesn't mean you're anti-government or anti, like, you're looking for good government. You're looking for what the founding fathers wanted for our nation. And when people question the government, our country was built on renegades, people who were fighting tyranny, questioning the government, right? At the time, they're quite like, why are we living like this? Let's create our own nation. And those documents have still applied to now, because they had such foresight, because they knew what tyranny looked like. And when you look at the way the country's going, is the government's trying to censor information because they don't want people to think against the government. They want them to think, well, everything's good, everything's nice, everything, don't worry about it, we got it taken care of. But when you see people question, like, why is this happening? And that's why I think the whole thing on the whole TikTok ban is happening. If you don't want to watch TikTok, don't watch it. Don't download the app, right?
So what is it with that? So I heard. So right now they're fighting to be able to ban, or to what's going on right now? This is going all the way up to the Supreme Court, is it not?
All right, yeah. So I think that what they're saying is that other countries are trying to influence the messages that are being spread on social media, right? They talk about these algorithms, like, oh, well, if you're looking down certain things, you're going to get certain content automatically fed to your feed.
Right.
But that happens regardless.
Other countries, happens on
that happens on YouTube, it happens on Facebook, it happens on Instagram. All these people are gathering your information.
All the shit that we're talking to right now, that my phone is picking up, your phone is picking up, when you open your YouTube up, it's going to be on your fucking YouTube feed, or your TikTok, or whatever it is that you look at. It's going to come up.
So they talk about foreign influence. Let's talk about influence of our own country.
Yeah, man.
Let's talk about, well, you question that, oh, he's anti-government.
Hey, didn't Obama sign I might be talking out of pocket here because I don't know the full details on this, but didn't he pass a bill or a law or whatever that allowed the media to sway our thoughts?
I don't know about that one.
Yeah, I'm gonna look it up. I'm gonna look it up, and I'm gonna put that at the end of this episode.
All right.
Whether I'm fucking real or not, I'm gonna fact check myself.
I'll check it out.
Yeah. So I feel like he did, man, but I don't know.
I think that the main thing I try to promote is civic engagement and learning about how policies are made. I think that's so important for future generations looking forward. For people who are voters or new to voting, is start looking at the issues, and from a you could use your religious perspective, your professional perspective, and a policy perspective, and what's in the middle. Does the law need to be changed? Does it serve for the best interest of the community? And is it going to be something that's going to be sustainable for future generations, or will we revisit this in a few more years? And like a quick little example is like Airbnbs have been an issue in a lot of local cities. Some cities want them, some cities don't. Yeah. So you could kick the can down the road and say, okay, well, we're not going to talk about it right now. We'll let the next council figure that out. But you're not dealing with the issue.
Right.
So
it's not going to go away.
It's not going to go away. That's a business that's going to exist legally or illegally. It's going to exist. So how are you going?
Yeah, you're right, dude.
How are you going to regulate it? How are you going to deal with problems when they happen in the community? And is it something the city can benefit from, and how?
Yeah, or capitalize from it.
Capitalize on it from, and that could be another funding stream for cities that they don't even think about it.
Yeah.
And if there's problems with those, if it could be like, hey, 3 strikes, you're out. You lose your license. You can't operate your Airbnb anymore. Right. If there's issues at those. And that would be a policy, a policy to propose for that specific issue. And let's deal with the problem now, not just keep kicking the can down the road for other policymakers to decide. Let's deal with that now. And then that way we learn from the mistakes and we adjust the policy the next time around. That still doesn't work out. Let's adjust it again. And then let's evaluate, like in law enforcement, we use the SARA model, right? Scan, analyze, respond, assess, right? So when you propose an idea, you scan for issues in the city, you analyze what the problem is, you create the definitions, the measurable variables that you're trying to affect, develop a response, and then you assess it. Did it work? Did it not work? Where did we fail? What are the strengths and the weaknesses of that policy change? And then you start all over again. Scan for those assessments, those issues that need to be resolved after you've completed it, and the cycle continues until you get something where people are like, okay, it's good.
And you keep like adjusting until you get it right.
Right. You keep adjusting until you get it right.
Information. You do your research, you gather information, apply the info, and then you make adjustments.
Right.
And shit changes, dog. It's dynamic.
Right. And then
it's always changing.
Even with the next council line, like I said, I proposed term limits.
How was that?
Teach someone else.
How was that?
People don't like to talk about that. That's a bad word for any politician. And they'll be like, oh yeah, I'm for term limits, but when you put them on a public forum, they won't say nothing about public term limits.
It's because nobody's holding anybody accountable.
No one. They're afraid to lose their position because it's ego.
Right.
So no one can step down and just be like, okay, I'm ready for the next guy to come in to bring new ideas. The next guy or girl to come in and bring new ideas. Let's do this. This is my vision. I hope that the next candidate coming in can continue that vision or make our city better. They have a better vision for the city. And at every level, look at it from that same perspective of, I want someone else to come in and take this position. But that hasn't been the norm. When it becomes the norm, I think we'll see a change in politics where people are saying, okay, I want to be that person. It's something that I can attain, and not going to be something where I know I don't have to wait 20 years for someone to step out of office. If they know that their term's over in another year, they'll be like, okay, I'm going to prepare get my money in order, get my campaign in order, and I'm going to run the next time that seat opens up. And I think that would motivate more people to get involved, because when you got someone who's an incumbent for 20 years and you're someone who wants to go for that position, how are you going to run against someone knowing it's a losing battle?
Right.
That's very difficult for a candidate to go in there saying, okay, especially if you're from the same party and you don't think that person from your party is doing a good job, regardless of your political affiliation, if there's other people who could probably do a better job who just aren't going to run because it's difficult to go up against an incumbent. That's just the way our political system is. And I think that I've seen good candidates, even in districts that I couldn't vote for, that I thought would have been a better candidate, but they lost.
Yeah.
Some people don't. That's a big turnoff. Or people who are good candidates, they lose one election and then you never hear from them again. I got one more in me. I think I'll run one more time. And
when's this all going down? Like when? So, like what? Another 4 years?
Every 4 years, yeah. So the next one will be in 3 years.
So you're just gonna sharpen your blade, and
yeah, and just keep learning as much as I can and gather facts, not my personal feelings, because people don't care about your personal feelings. They want to know why. Why? Tell me why in black and white.
Right.
And that's what I want to do in my community. And I think that applies to every city. It's not just Chino. It's every city needs to start questioning what's happening in their city, how money's being spent.
I'm gonna make a head call.
Yeah.
You know what I trip out on? How you were talking about good candidates, right?
Mm-hmm.
And how you've seen good candidates lose.
Mm-hmm.
So I think like my thing is, if the person is a good candidate, you see them as a good candidate, as someone who's going to take care of, get the job done. Other people must see them the same way.
Yeah, because right? They get votes. There's people who believe in them,
Then if they're the best, like why do people lose? If they're better, if they're the best person for that job, why do they lose?
I would say
is it because of dumb shit like are you a Republican or a Democrat?
I would say the average voter doesn't really do their homework. They go by voter guides. They go by, what their neighbor, talk about, with their neighbors. They go by race. They go by what religion they are. They go by certain different criteria of what a candidate should be in their eyes. And that's okay. Everyone has their own method of voting. But I would say the average voter doesn't know how to do their research. And like for a city where I had maybe I think 12,000 in my district, I think there was 12,000 registered voters in my district. Only one third of that actually voted.
And you know where people do a lot of learning?
Mm-hmm.
In their cars, driving to work
Uh-huh.
and driving from work.
Mm-hmm.
That period of time right there when they're making their commute,
Uh-huh.
people are doing a lot of like listening to podcasts. They're listening to audiobooks.
Mm-hmm.
They're doing a lot of learning, bro.
That's what I do too. Yeah,
and
I do too.
Dude, if you could figure out a way to put yourself in that time slot
Mm-hmm.
and educate people on yourself during that time,
yeah,
that would be fucking a big W.
Well, yeah, that's why I want to do my own podcast too, and I think it's a great forum. There's thousands. I don't know. I've come up with some different names.
Yes.
You know what? I thought of one. I really just I want people.
Don't say it. Somebody might your enemy. Hey, your fucking political rivals are gonna fucking take that shit, bro. Don't be careful what you say.
But yeah, I thought of some names, but it's true because people don't have time to meet with you, and I get it. And that's why I was so bit heavy on my social media. And it was funny because my other opponent would make fun of me because of my soul, like, oh, I'm not always on social media, But I know people don't have time. But I've made a lot of good relationships with people in the city where they still will like a post, or I kind of know they're still watching, or you can see the views, and I know that they're still keeping that connection because they could have just unfollowed me after the election.
Yeah.
They could have just been like, okay, well, election's over. This guy lost. I'll unfollow him. He doesn't need to be part of my feed.
Mm-hmm.
I get it. But a lot of people have maintained that
interest.
Like, oh, okay, I like what he's posting. I'm learning more about him. Maybe next time I'll get involved and maybe support him more. And that's why I kept it going, because it's a very powerful tool, because you could still keep in contact. There's some people who are like I've never met in person, but we'll chat on Instagram or Facebook, and oh, that was funny, or oh, I've done the same thing, or oh, I've been there. There's still that connection with something. Our paths might have crossed, or they went to the same schools, or they hang out at the same park or something. So there's a lot of that human connection that still exists that I think is valuable as someone who does want to be involved in the community and run again, is to maintain those relationships.
Absolutely.
Even if it's on social media.
Yeah, absolutely. Because that's what it's all about. It's all about building the relationship and keeping the relationship. And because you don't want to be so separate from the people that vote for you. You want to be accessible so that they feel as if you're a part of them.
Right.
You can't be not a part of the community.
Right.
You all of a sudden, if you are voted into office, you can't be like, I'm up here now. No, fuck that. We're all
there right there.
You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
We're all here. I always say, man, like, we need someone like Maximus in Gladiator. You know what I'm saying? Maximus in Gladiator. You look at not just throughout history, you look at all these leaders who have been successful. One common trait that they all had is that they never separated themselves from their troops. They never separated themselves from the people. They stood there. They ate the same food as they ate. They slept on the same floors they slept on. They went through the same trials and tribulations that they went through. They were a part of them.
Right.
They never separated themselves from it. And I think that's what people want. That's what people want.
Right.
People want that. If nobody wants to vote for the guy in the ivory castle.
Right.
You know what I'm saying?
Right.
I want to vote for that motherfucker that lives, down the street from me, because
I could call and tell him,
yes,
hey, I have a problem with this. What are you gonna do?
Yeah.
And
what's your? Hey, can I help?
Right. Yeah. Be part of the problem solving process. Yeah.
And what's the plan?
Yeah.
Well, how can I help you out?
Right.
Because I'm sure people want to help in their community.
Oh yeah, right? Yeah. People do, and that's the cool part of it, is you get people who have lived their generations and they truly care about their city. And that's a beautiful thing when you see someone who, this is my community. I'm proud of my community. I'm proud of the people who live there and work there and pray there and visit our city. That's it's cool. It's a beautiful thing.
Yeah. That's
your city. That's where you raise your kids. That's where your memories are. That's where you walk down to the park and you've pushed your kid on that swing when he was a little boy. That's part of your history, is the city that you live in.
Right.
It's a beautiful thing, and it's um
Like building that sense of being responsible for your community.
mhm.
I think that's huge too, because a
Oh
lot of
yeah.
people might be disconnected from that as
Uh-huh.
well. You know what I'm saying? They might not. They might be disconnected from. They might not feel proud of their city.
Right.
They might not feel that connection to their city. And if you can build that in them, or help them realize
Right.
they're responsible for their community, I think that'll help as well.
No, you're right, and that's why
You
I
know?
always promote civic engagement, and I tell people, look, you don't have to.
I had to Google that, bro. When you talked to me the other yesterday and you sent me civil engagement, I said, what is our civic engagement?"
Civic
I
engagement.
Googled it, and it's
Yeah.
like the person getting involved
Right.
in whatever, like basically going out and voting,
Right.
getting involved.
So I promote civic engagement with I do a lot of guest speaking in schools and even on my social media, and you don't have to be on council to be civically engaged.
Mm-hmm.
You could work for a nonprofit, you could attend a fundraising event, you can promote things on your social media, just even reposting.
Mm.
And like there's different nonprofits in the city where I may not have actually like stuffed bags and envelopes, but I help promote their events.
Mm-hmm.
I supported their events. I attended their events.
Mm-hmm.
That's all civic engagement, because there's thousands of people who get the message and don't show up. There's thousands of people who get the message, don't donate $1. There's thousands of people who get the message and they don't repost it, and it's
Mm-hmm.
free. It takes no time to repost it. They don't do it. That's civic engagement at the lowest level. Repost someone's event.
Mm-hmm.
If there's a nonprofit doing a fundraiser, you can't attend, repost it, because maybe one of your followers is saying, hey, I'll go. I support that organization. I'll donate $5. And I think crowdfunding is another good way to get people civically engaged. Hey, get all your friends. Hey, donate $5 to this organization. But even let's go a step further. Donate $5 a month for 1 year to this organization. You get 25 of your friends donating $5 a month. What's $5? A Starbucks coffee. You can't even get a Starbucks coffee for $5. But let's just say you hit up 25 of your friends. You said, hey, let's all get together. You go on their website and donate $5 a month. 25 people.
Mm-hmm.
Another person gets 25 people. Another person gets 25 people. Out of all the 100,000 people in your city, if everyone just did that, imagine how much you can fund
Right.
anything.
Right.
How
much can get, because money
how
talks,
much change can you
done.
make? How much change can you make is immeasurable. Mm-hmm. You could get people came and supported me in my campaign. They didn't even live in my city.
No shit.
For friends and family and things, because they believed in me. And then when you get people in the community, that word spreads, and you build your voter base. You build a base where people learn about different nonprofits in the city and get involved donating things. Mm-hmm. That's huge. So it doesn't matter what level of interest you have. It matters that you get up and do something. Mm-hmm. You say something, you do something. That's civic engagement.
Hey, why do you think people don't?
I think that they, maybe for the most part, that they feel like it takes up too much time, or they have to donate a lot of money, or they have to donate a lot of time. I think that could be one of the reasons. Maybe they don't know.
Sometimes I wonder how some candidates win when nobody knows who they are.
Yeah.
How do they fucking win? It's because they have the right people voting for them, right? You know what I'm saying?
Well, there's connectors in the community who they have their own. So you get certain families that have a lot of like in Chino, there's a lot of old school families, right, that have a lot of influence in the city. If you connect with the right families, they have friends, they have families, mm-hmm, and then you have a certain pool of voters, for example. But
certain pool of support.
Pool of support, yeah. So it's not that they have a huge social media influence. They're connectors in the community. Business owners, certain family members, they're connectors in the community. Mm-hmm. So when you get those connectors to help spread the message, then you could make change, and change isn't that difficult. You just got to get people involved, and it takes people listening and learning and getting motivated and inspired to make change for it to actually happen. And then you bring someone else with you to be part of that journey, you know, and then it could happen. I don't see it as being far-fetched. And I tell people, you don't even need to promote it on your social media, but promote it on your social media. Let people know, yeah, you know what, I donated to this organization, I attended this event, I support them, so that people could be influenced and motivated and inspired to do the same thing. Like, hey, I found this great organization, come out to this event. That's civic engagement.
Yeah,
that's getting involved in your community. That's a beautiful thing.
I want to get involved in mine, but like I don't know where to fucking look for what's going on, what's happening. You know, like one big thing that's going on here right now, right here, is okay. So you want to know there?
No.
Okay. So we had all the Motel 6s. Well, not all of them, but a lot of them, they closed down, right?
Oh yeah, I saw that. Yeah.
They closed down, and what was opened up, it was called Project Room Key. And what Project Room Key was, it housed homeless in these Motel 6 that were used to be these former Motel 6, and it gave them, man, I don't know if it was taking care of them or what it was doing, or it was housing them during COVID, right? And it was a big thing. It was a big thing. Okay, and it's fucked up. No, I was asking myself. I asked myself, why am I against this? Is it like not in my city, but in your city, it's cool,
right?
Why am I against this? Right? Because I was, dog. And I'm still against it because now they're trying to open up. So they closed down Room Key, and everybody that was there staying at Motel 6, they all basically threw them out. They didn't pick up in a bus and take them somewhere else. They got released into our streets, dog. Right? So now we have, I don't want to say a homeless problem, but there's a lot more homeless here than there were before. And they are walking down, coming up into our community. They are, homeboy, he's tried to set up shop right here down the street in this little nature walk that we have that it comes up. It's cool little spot. But hey, man, if I was homeless, I would sleep there.
Right.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So now what they're gonna do? They're gonna open up another housing for homeless in the same spot that's gonna be called Project Home Key. Where it's hey man, they're just giving it a different name. You know what I mean?
Right.
And our community is against it because now there's two dudes that were by the freeway entrance slamming right there, dog, slamming heroin, and then he's out there with a he's flying a sign, asking for money,
right?
But like this,
right,
nodding off because he's all fucked up on heroin, like that. I don't want that because along with that comes needles,
right?
You know what I'm saying? And then you get guys fucked up on dope. You get guys fucked up on dope. There's really not knowing what they're gonna do,
right?
Break-ins, the percentage of break-ins have went up,
right?
Shit like that. Shit like that started to happen once Room Key came to town, and now they're gonna try to make it permanent with Home Key. So I'm against it. I don't want that here. I don't want that here because of that, And I don't know what this big push is here in California. There's a big push to integrate homeless into our communities, in these communities, and I don't get that. What do what? I don't get it, dog. It's like they're just dispersing them into like the suburbs,
right?
And I don't get it.
I think every city should take care of their own homeless, because what happens?
What is the solution, bro?
The solution?
Homeless is rough, dog. That's a rough topic.
It's a rough topic because you're dealing with addictions, you're dealing with mental health, you're dealing with all these different issues of what are you going to do with these people, right? And so if you're on drugs, you can't go through therapy successfully. If you're on drugs, you're not going to be compliant with the medicine you should be taking, which increases the health problems. And it's a very difficult situation that a lot of people can't deal with. They go straight to housing as being the ultimate solution. I think the best way to manage your homeless population is that every city takes care of its own homeless. And I've seen models of that, like in San Diego County, there's some, I think it's Newport Beach. They'll take care of, like, you have to be vetted as a city transient. So they're not taking on the problems of
that
other
makes
cities.
sense, dude.
Because what happens is you get homeless people migrating from other cities to that specific city to use that resource. But every city should be taking care of their own so that you don't have this migration of people flooding your city and taking over your resources. If every city had something, I think that it would be manageable to the point where when they could actually do case work with each one, like wraparound services where they're getting mental health, they're getting meeting with their probation officer, their parole officer, they're getting drug addiction counseling or medications to get off the drugs, or narcotics management. If every city took care of its own, I think it wouldn't cause this huge migration. Because, like, for example, we have one church in our city that will feed our homeless, but you get Ontario, you get Pomona people who hear about this resource, who come to our city, and then they need a place to sleep, so they set up shop here because they know that there's a resource here. But if they had their own resources there, or more resources there, they would stay closer to what they know or feel safer. And I think that when cities try to actually address the problem rather than just push it out, there's a lot of case law that also protects the homeless, that it doesn't make it illegal to camp. It doesn't make it illegal for them to start a fire to cook their food. And those were old ordinances and laws that existed in the past that aren't now. So educating people on what the policies are now also makes a difference, because people think, oh, we'll kick these homeless people out of this park. Well, legally you can't. It's not against the law to sleep.
There was a park in Whittier, Parnell Park, that turned into a...
Oh, I used to go there when I was a kid.
Parnell Park turned into a homeless encampment.
Yeah.
And there was like needles on the floor, dog, fucking bunch of trash or shit, toilet paper with, guys taking shits and wiping their asses and leaving toilet paper, stuff like that, bro. You know what I mean? Like, that right there doesn't make people want you in their community.
Right.
If you're gonna be hanging out and living in the community, at least fucking...
Yeah, you can't even go to the park.
Yeah,
feel safe.
At least, be part of the community.
Right.
Don't be a fucking outcast and put yourself in a position where people don't fucking want you.
Right.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Because I've worked with them, dog. I've worked with homeless. I know what it's like to work with homeless, man.
Right.
And hey, I've had a couple dudes who have just been like, yeah, fucking man, I don't give a fuck. I'm fucking collecting my money. I'm fucking kicking back.
Right.
I'm fucking dirty. I'm fucking doing dope. I'm doing dope. I don't give a fuck. This is just my fucking life. You know what I mean?
Well, what's funny? You brought up a funny point. So, like, I used to run a reentry program, and the whole point of the reentry program was to bring people who are coming out of jails and prisons back into the community, right? So there was this guy, hardcore gangster. Where was he from? I think he was from Pomona. Blasted face, head. He spent his whole childhood into his young adulthood trying to look like the scariest guy you've ever met. The biggest, baddest gangster on the block, right? Hardcore badass. You look at him, you see fear, right? His whole life is instilling fear and intimidating others, right? And I'm tasked with trying to bring these people back into the community, right? So we had like a community like fair, like a carnival rides and shit like that. So I told him, well, come to the event. Bring your family, because he had kids, he had a wife. He just got out of prison. He's trying to, his wife was trying to change him back.
Reintegrate into society.
Yeah. So he shows up to the event, checks in with my partner as a probation officer, and then we were like, okay, well, enjoy the event. He's got 4 cops following him behind the whole time. So it's kind of like, he told me, he's like, hey, what's up with that? Like, you want me to be part of society and, get involved. And I came and attended the event, and then they're waiting for me to pull out a gun or something so they can blast me. It's like, I didn't show up with a gun. I'm not here gangbanging. I'm here with my wife and my kids.
Right.
But to the rest of society, he caused fear and intimidation at that event. So they wanted to make sure that the police were following him and, keep an eye on that guy in case he does that. So it's a catch-22. So how are you going to reintegrate people back into society when they've created this whole persona, right? So bad enough that he's got to get all these tattoos removed and change the way he walks, the way he talks, his whole life. That's who he is, his persona, right? And then tell him he's got to be part of society now. It's a very wicked, a wicked task to be involved with. So you got to go and say, you've been homeless your whole life. Your family's, you've destroyed every relationship you've had with every family member, with every friend. You've used every drug out there. You don't talk to the doctors. You don't talk to anybody. But we want you to be successful. We want you to get out of the streets. How are you going to do that? It's a very, very wicked problem when you think about it.
It takes time, and then you have to prove yourself.
Right.
You have to earn trust.
Right.
It's a fucking process, dude. It's hard.
So what are you supposed to do with these? What are you supposed to do?
I don't know, Doug.
I don't know,
Doug.
Whoever comes up with a solution,
I don't know.
It's funny because you look at the new mayor of LA, and she had like a whole plan of I want her to do good. If she's saying she's going to take care of the homeless problem, this is going to be her first task. Mm-hmm. I'm curious to see what's going to happen, because I've seen a lot of plans that have failed. I've seen some that have been good models, but a lot of them have failed. So I would hope that she has that motivation, that more people would be involved to make it work, because she's in office, mm-hmm. right? So you got to make it work. We all want to see it work, because we're getting our shit stolen. We're getting our catalytic converters stolen. We're getting things that element of fear in your communities. You want to see a successful model so that other cities can implement that model.
Yeah, we want to see somebody succeed.
Yeah, because it's for the greater good of the community.
And I work in Watts. My team, we work from the area between the 110, the 710, the 105, all the way down to the 10. With that fucking area, dog. And hey, it's fucked up, man. Mm-hmm. It is fucked up. There are streets that are just lined all the way down.
Yeah, with RVs and tents.
Tents. Hey, man, the streets are like Slauson and San Pedro. That area right there is fucked up, dog. Right there, but there's a train tracks, and it is fucking bad. On Broadway and Imperial, I think I might be wrong, they're building like this huge container building with containers. And I think they're going to be housing people there. I'm not too sure. I don't know. But it's crazy, bro. And like I said, if you're going to be living in the community, don't be, you have to integrate into the community. Right. And you have to show that, I might be homeless, I might be A, B, C, and D, but I'm also here to not fuck shit up.
Right. I wish there was that understanding. I think that...
Do we need some type of liaison, bro? Like, is there somebody that needs to, like, you know what I mean? Do we need a liaison between... Because it's like, it's two cultures, bro.
Right.
That coexist. Right. Are coexisting. And in order for these two cultures to coexist, we need communication.
Right.
Because if it's not going to get any better, then at least we can come to some type of terms.
Yeah.
Isn't it fucked up to be talking like this?
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? Isn't it fucked up to be talking about this situation like this, dog? Talking about, we're two cultures that are existing parallel to each other in the same fucking communities, in the same reality.
Right.
But we are just on two different sides of...
The only way you could break, the only way you could really break the cycle is starting off with kids and educating them with all these drugs that are out there. You can't change that segment of society, but if you affect change in the youth, and they're not getting the message. They're still doing drugs. They're still experimenting with drugs, knowing that all the data out there says that drugs are bad. The data is still showing that the drugs are still so prevalent in the community. Why are they still using drugs? Why are they still joining gangs when they know either death or prison is going to be in your future?
Death, prison, or wheelchair.
So you look at how you're going to break that cycle. Now all we can do is manage that population, but at some point we got to focus on breaking that cycle, and it goes deeper than that, because it goes to the breakdown of the families.
What about the people? Like, it's not like not everybody out there is addicted on drugs.
Right.
Not everybody out there is in a situation where they got kicked out of the house and they've just severed all the ties with all their friends and their families. You got people that want to be out there, dog.
Right.
They're like, hey man, this is what I want to do.
Oh yeah, I met some of those too.
I don't want to go back. No. I don't. This what the fuck is wrong with the way that I live? What's wrong with this?
Right.
Oh, and then I like, oh, you're right.
Right. Yeah.
You're right, dude. Like, who is to say? Society might say this is wrong, but hey, who says society's fucking right?
Right.
You know?
Right.
Yeah, I trip out. Dude. I trip out on that.
I've met some like that were like well spoken and they had no other issues. They just like that lifestyle. But does that have to be acceptable at the expense of a homeowner or a business owner?
Exactly.
And that's where the debate comes in, because
exactly,
like,
man.
well, yeah, that's your choice, but because you
put that perfectly.
You want to camp out on my sidewalk in front of my house where I'm raising my family and, you know, I pay taxes and I'm, you know, I have a certain expectation of what my neighborhood looks like.
You have to care too.
So yeah, but it's
you have
like,
to give a fuck. Give a fuck.
Yeah.
Like, you can't be like, I don't give a fuck.
Right. I'm just gonna set up in front of your house.
You got to give a fuck.
Yeah, it's like, it's hard. Like, you know, what's to say like I can't live right here in my car in front of your house?
You can.
It's a public street, right?
You can. They're not. You can. You know, you might get harassed by the cops, right? But I don't think they can arrest you for it.
They can't arrest you for it. No, they're gonna come check up on you. Hey, you need any resources? You're committing crime and doing drugs? No. Okay. All right. I'll see you later.
And they could press you and make it hard for you, but when it comes down to it, you can't get arrested for it.
No. So it's hard. That's why I'm saying the only solution I could think of is we need to start not just throwing money at the issue, but start making real change at the youngest level you can, and just nurture these kids and show them like that's not a good path to go. Right. We could go on and on of how, you know, things can change at that level, but there's too many bad influences out there. Yeah. There's a lot of bad influences out there. And, you know, it's a tough topic. I'm curious to see what happens in my lifetime with that issue, because after, you know, COVID and all this stuff happened, you see it's in your face more. Mm-hmm. You know, like, I love LA. I like going to LA. I like going to Long Beach. I like going to San Diego. I like going to Vegas. All these places have become just nests of just issues, of problems, where you don't feel safe. And you think about safety as the number one thing that is important to people, you know, like regardless of political party, race, you know, income level, you want to feel safe. You want to feel like you could go outside and not have to worry about being harmed or being robbed or your things being stolen. That's a basic need for anyone, to feel safe. Yeah. Right. Whether it's your shelter's a tent or you have a roof over your head, you want to feel safe from the elements, feel safe from other people, you know, have some concealment from, you know, people watching everything you're doing. And it's an interesting debate. I think there's a lot. I think there's more focused on, we need to do something, but what? And at what expense? And how are we going to fund this? Yeah. So that's a very, very complicated question. But
hey, I'm gonna wrap it up.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Hey, what? Do you have any final words, dog?
No, I think we covered a lot. We covered, you know, whole civic engagement, getting involved in your community, talked about my campaign. We talked about a lot of things. If anyone wants to learn more about me, I'll give Ray J, you know, my social media. I think it's Greg_Marquez on Instagram, and it's just Gregory Marquez on Facebook.
I'm gonna post it up, dude. I'm gonna put all of your links, all of your handles. Yeah. I'm gonna post them up, dog.
Yeah, and I think it's important just to keep listening. You keep listening, because you're gonna learn and you're gonna pick up little nuggets of wisdom from everyone. I think that's important for people.
Dog. All right. Hey, and you, hey, this is just your first time here, dog. You're always invited, dog.
Yeah.
All right.
Thanks, man.
All right, give me a hug, Holmes.
Thanks, man. Okay.
Love you, dog. Love you, dog.
Yeah, me too. That was fun.
Yeah, that was fun. Man. That was fucking a great fucking episode, Holmes.